What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of At Home with Mark. Today is season 9, episode 9. And this is kind of fun. I haven't talked to Mr. Adam Wakefield probably since you lived in Baltimore. So it's been a long ass time since we've chatted, man. But thank you for making some time. And you've had a lot going on since then, too. So
Sometimes.
I think you've had a lot going on. But yeah, man, thanks for making some time. I know you're busy and you get a session thing going on tonight and everything. So thank you. So Adam, we shared a mutual drummer for a minute, Mr. Christian Stangl, who it's funny.
Sounds dirty.
But he's come up on this channel. He's actually come up a couple times with people that he's connected me with in my career, which is awesome. But since the old days of playing in Baltimore and everything, we never really got a chance to sit and actually get to know each other, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, I always ask everybody this, but what is your earliest musical memory?
Musical memory? That's I don't know, man. I mean, I guess I had a tape when I was a kid, and it had I think it was the Jungle Book soundtrack. So, but that was back in the day when soundtracks for movies were good. So it was Louis Prima doing "I Want to Be Like You," and it was Phil Harriman doing what's the other one there? Bare Necessities. So it was
so
good.
dude.
It was good. I remember dancing around to "I Want to Be Like You" and learning the mouth trumpet solo, trying to be able to do it note for note when I was young.
Nice. Did you have I totally remember having 45s that went with a Disney book. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah. There were those. I think those are probably a little before my time. I was cassettes, so I remember having we had I had I think it was Return of the Jedi book with the tape.
Yeah. Nice, dude. Nice. So, what was the earliest time that you thought you wanted to do something with music, whether it's singing or whether it's playing? How old were you?
Well, I remember I told my mom I wanted to play piano when I was 4. I had gone to show and tell, and these girls were playing, and I was like, they're terrible. I get it. So I was walking with my mom at little league practice, and or no, my brother's little league practice, and I was there with her, and I said, hey, I want to learn how to play piano, and she said, okay. Plus, all we had in the house was the piano, so.
Okay, that works.
It's kind of like, if all you got's a PlayStation 1, well, it looks like you're playing PlayStation 1 games, So.
Indeed. And this was in Baltimore, right? Didn't you grow up in the Northeast?
No, yeah, it wasn't in Baltimore. It was in Plymouth, New Hampshire.
Okay. How long did you live up in New England?
Till I was 18, and then I moved to New York for a year, went to school, and then I moved to Baltimore, and then moved down here.
So how did you end up in Baltimore?
I was going to college in New York, going to the New School for Jazz, and then I left there to go just start a band with my brother who was living in Baltimore at the time. And so we all got together in New Hampshire, on summer vacation or whatever, and hung around and, jammed, smoked a lot of pot, and then went and met up with my brother in Baltimore after about 6 months and started a band, and then just, tinkered around Baltimore for 10 years, pounding our head against the wall.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Yep. So was that the beginnings of Old Man Brown, basically, at that time?
Pumpkin. Yeah. I mean, we'd started the band before then.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So you guys, so that was you and your brother was the impetus of that band, getting that formed?
Yeah. I mean, me and my brother had played music for a long time together. He was a bass player. He went to music school at USC for bass.
Oh, okay.
Well, USC, and then he went to Berkeley for a while
Berkeley Cal or Berkeley Boston?
Berkeley, Boston.
Okay.
And then he dropped out. He dropped out after 3 years. I dropped out after 1 year of music school. And then we just, yeah. I mean, when I grew up and when I was in like middle school and he was in high school, I was like going and playing keyboards with him and his band, playing like biker parties and, you know, stuff like that when I was like 14, 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about like your upbringing, because you have such a like wide variety, at least from what I remember too. I mean, because like I've always kind of associated Old Man Brown with more of that kind of Allman Brothers-y type vibe,
Yeah.
mixed with like the R&B. I could tell that you were going somewhere else too.
Mhm.
Like you could hear it in you for sure. But like what was on in your house? Like what did you listen to when you were growing up, and what were you exposed to?
Well, mainly it was either like Allman Brothers or like rock and roll stuff, all the like classic rock shit like James Taylor and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and we used to listen to the Woodstock live album all the time when we were kids. It was either that or it was like Motown and blues stuff. So mainly more so Motown and shit like that. When my brother got older, he started listening to like to like BB and Freddie King and like John Lee Hooker and shit like that. And then I was always listening to whatever he was listening to. So when Warrant came out and all those bands, I was listening to that when I was like 10. It was funny.
Okay. So
Yeah.
then you made a hard U-turn back to it, like at some point, like.
Man, I don't know. I bounced all over the place. I wish I could say that there was a method to it all, but I mean, I don't know. You just kind of just sit around, hang around, and listen to whatever. Like anybody, especially growing up through elementary school. I mean, once you have new friends, what you're listening to at your house is what like you and all your buddies are listening to at school. So and whatever's
Mhm.
popular. So for me, it was the night. I mean, up until fifth or sixth grade, everybody listened to garbage. It was like Belle Biv DeVoe and stuff like that. So I was like listening to, no offense, but I was listening to like George Duke and stuff like that when I was a kid, just because my uncle had a bunch of tapes of like George Duke and Joe Sample and shit. So I was listening to that when I was younger. And then it was kind of like 90s. Okay, now we listen to Nirvana and all this other stuff. And then, and then I just kind of went back to jazz and that kind of stuff after I left New Hampshire.
Okay. Did you get so like the 90s? I mean, I'm 45, so like 91 when all those great records came out. That's what made me want to play guitar. Like that
Oh yeah.
moment in my life. So like you were before that, you were probably already playing piano and you were probably already listening to all this old school stuff. Like, did you get in that deep haze like me with all that heavier music at a time?
Well, I mean, it came out at a pretty opportune time. I mean, for me, it was like Rage Against the Machine and, like some of the super hard stuff. Just because, I mean, you're 15 years old and you've just figured out what testosterone feels like. It's like, it's like cocaine for a teenager. It's just like, what is it feeling? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's like that show, Big Mouth. So yeah, I mean, and especially if you and all your buddies were listening to that stuff. I mean, we were listening to it, we were playing it, we were learning all the Rage Against the Machine songs, we were learning all the Green Day songs and stuff, like just because, I don't know, especially back then, you didn't have there wasn't so many like ways to entertain yourself. So back then it was like, wait, so if we take this guitar and that drum set and this bass and we learn these parts and we play them together, it's going to sound like this CD that we have. That's cool. You know what I mean? It was just kind of that process back in the day. And so you'd sit there and be like, all right, well, let's learn, this stupid, like power chords. Okay, I just slide those around. That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know how it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless it was like Soundgarden or like Stone Temple Pilots, then you were screwed.
Yeah, there's some heady stuff going on there. But I think it's interesting though when you talk about Rage Against the Machine. It's like I always have this argument with people about the Spin Doctors because I love the Spin Doctors, and I think the reason I love the Spin Doctors is because at that period of time when I was, I mean, I have a Pearl Jam tattoo, dude. Like I love that band, and I will always love Pearl Jam. But like, there was something about the Spin Doctors at that moment that like hooked me. That I was like, hold on a second here. I specifically hear blues.
Uh-huh.
I specifically hear funk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like Aaron Comas is a drummer in terms of like pocket playing and like tasteful and like smart shit, like hip shit. He was doing a lot of really cool stuff that was in that jam scene, right? But like when you think about Rage Against the Machine and you're talking about that, there's an element of that band, even as hard as they are and the message that they're driving home, there's some like serious funk syncopation that's going on in that band that
Yeah,
you
man.
you
Well, I
probably
mean, Rage. I mean, their story. They had Zach, who was like, all politics, all business, about like, just the kind of the toeing the line as far as the political stuff went. But I mean, like the drummer, he didn't know anything about that. He was just like, I just like to play the drums, and he was like he was just a rock drummer who, I think he was even had gone to music school and everything, and so it was kind of one of those bands where, and I think everybody was kind of like that. I know Tom Morello kind of is more so just kind of both. Um, but yeah, I mean, that was, I mean, that's what was cool about that band is that not only was the message awesome and just kind of like, hey guys, we don't have to think like all the capitalist people do all the time. What about this thing? And it was like,
right.
and not only that, but it was like, oh, it gives us somebody to be mad at. This is great. I love being mad at the man. This is amazing. You know? Yeah.
Totally. So yeah, and then when you talk about Soundgarden, man, like I love going back and like revisiting some of those records too to see like
Yeah.
how nerdy some of that stuff was.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to remember what tune it was. I think it's on my Instagram. But I like reharmonized what was it? I think it was a Stone Temple Pilots tune. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, a lot of the Soundgarden, the Stone Temple Pilots. I'm trying to think who else kind of harmonically, Radiohead, but that was kind of
Oh boy.
later, and I never really got into Radiohead just because I just never did for some reason. But I know harmonically, even some of their stuff gets pretty out there. And lots of extensions, chord extensions, and shit's great.
Do you remember any of that stuff? You're at a piano. Do you remember any of that? Like doing any of it?
No, no, I don't. I don't even remember what song it was that I reharmonized. What was it? No, I can't remember. I
What's
can't
your
remember.
favorite like Stone Temple Pilots record?
Purple.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's pretty
yeah.
damn great.
Big Empty, man.
Mm-hmm.
That was. I mean, that was it. Just sitting around with your buddies, smoking commercial swag weed and
Mm-hmm.
listening to Big Empty. That was where it was at.
Yeah, man. I remember that whole wave when The Crow came out. Remember that, dude? And like
Yeah.
that
Oh God.
that
Yeah. Oh
soundtrack was
Jesus.
slamming. And then they put Purple out, and then The Big Empty was on it. And we were just like,
Yeah.
oh man, okay. So they've had this in the can like for a
Yeah.
while. That's so rad. All right, so let's talk a little bit about I want to talk a little bit about the early scene of playing with Old Man Brown and everything, because you guys played for a long time. You guys were doing a residency, right, at the Full Moon Saloon for a long ass time, right?
Yep. Full Moon Saloon, man. R.I.P. Zeke. No.
Right. What was that, like a Thursday night every week or like a Tuesday night, something crazy?
Think it was Thursdays. I think it was every Thursday
Yeah. Okay.
for a long time. Who knows? I probably started as a Sunday and then moved to a Tuesday and then moved to a Thursday. That's how that would always work. We were the band that would stick it out the longest. It wasn't like we were the best one. We were just like, no, we've been here 7 years. We made it to Thursday after about 5.
And then people like don't really kind of know this about Baltimore, but there was a scene. What we're talking about, there's a part of town called Fells Point, and you can probably, I guess, you can tell me if you disagree with this, but it kind of feels akin to like that, you know, uh, Austin thing where is that like Fifth Street in Austin or something? Is that that's Seventh Street? But
Never
it's like
been.
it's bar after bar after bar, live music after live music after, or being on Broadway kind of thing.
Yeah, or Beale Street, somewhere like that, or wherever Bourbon Street, New Orleans. They all have their like music street. Yeah.
Yeah. But this spot, if like you ever visit Baltimore, there's guaranteed that you can go there and find a great band playing.
Yeah.
Did you find that from hammering it as much as you guys were hammering it at that time, like how much were you working on your chops? Like, how in your head were you about becoming a better musician, or were you guys just like, we're just trying to get something rolling?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, back then it was such a great period of time because we were just so naive when it came to anything like branding or marketing or like management or even like publishing, any of that shit. We didn't know about any of that stuff, so we were just like like the stuff that we were learning week one was the shit we were using to write songs week two. You know what I mean? Like it was just completely transparent. Like it was just the band was a representation of exactly what we were all just listening to and enjoying and internalizing. We had that band. We had a a regiment where everybody had to log. I think it was 5 hours of practice a week, and we had a piece of sheet paper on the fridge with everybody's names on it, and it was Monday through Friday, and you had to check. If you practiced, you had to check, and so and then at the on a Monday night on rehearsal, we rehearsed I think 3 nights a week.
Oh,
And then,
wow.
yeah, and then every Monday night at rehearsal, you would have to show everybody what you'd learned that week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
You
was like
guys were
a,
pretty organized, man. That's impressive.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was just always about the music. So, and I mean, at that time, I spent most of my time just trying to learn how to sing because I was so terrible at it. I mean, I didn't even really figure it out until I left Baltimore, really. So, but that was, I mean, we were hardcore, man. We wanted to get better, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could have been involved with something like that serious, like at that
Yeah.
age in my 20s, because like that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be like very serious about it and like work your ass off to get better. Because
Yeah. I mean,
it showed.
yeah, I mean, the kind of the like proficiency gained from all of that we did was fun. But I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I know we sound like we're really like dedicated, but I mean, I mean, we'd be partying all the time, and Tuesday people would be like, I saw he checked Tuesday. He said he practiced. He didn't practice. But we were still like just completely immature, and I mean, we were in our. I mean, shoot, we hadn't. I mean, for portion of time there we weren't even old enough to drink.
Yeah.
So I mean this is the same era where we were buying bottles of black velvet and just like chugging them out of the bottle. I mean, it was also that time. So man,
Right.
we probably employed the structure just to try and keep everybody to make sure everybody's keeping their shit together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like it showed, dude. Like anytime I saw you guys, the band always felt like it was tight. It always felt like you guys knew what the goal was. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And so it never felt like there was any kind of ambiguity, kind of like telepathically between the band. It always felt like everybody was connected. And I think,
I mean, the vision was pretty similar for everybody, and I mean, we didn't. It's funny to go back and like listen to recordings of the older stuff because it's funny to listen to a tight band of mediocre musicians. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like,
yeah, I know exactly what you mean, man.
so it's like interesting. It's like, well, it's all together but it's not all together, like it's pretty interesting to listen to those older. I mean, for me, I can't even listen to them because the singing for me, my singing on them is so bad. But just listening to some of the arrangements and some of the times we're like, oh yeah, we're really grooving. It's like, no, you're really rushing. It's
Yeah.
just like, but I
Yeah.
mean, that's I mean, over the last 30 years of my life, the amount of time I've spent making music with other people is it's such a blessing for me. I mean, that's where practice. I was saying this the other day in a lesson. I was like, you got to practice playing with other people just as much as you got to practice playing with yourself.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I feel like that is something that's very inspiring to see, like your pathway and knowing you from before, smartphones and before people were uploading videos on Instagram every day of
Yeah,
of their of their fantastic and no clams, you know what I mean?
yeah,
but like seeing you play early on and like hearing you play now, it does feel like, not in a bad way, but it feels like two different players.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of like, I'm not, I got pretty good at piano, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to play guitar, and I'll play a little, and I'll spend a little more time on piano, and then I'm gonna learn how to sing, and then I'll spend a little more time on piano, and then I'll go like, I'm gonna learn how to do bluegrass music. It was all kind of a lot of distractions from, putting in the real work on my instrument. So, and I think in the last, I don't know, I'd say probably last year or two, I've made more progress in the last year or two on the piano than I did in 5 years. Uh,
Really?
Before that, I was just messing around doing other stupid stuff. So I mean, I knew when I got left college that like I had a ways to go, and I had a lot of harmony work to work on, and a lot just learning the stuff you don't want to work on, like diminished scales and bebop scales and stuff like that. So pretty much just distracted myself for a good 15 years from doing the tough work until I bought this grand piano, and then I started playing it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is my instrument, and I should get better at it. So then I just started practicing again.
Talk to me a little bit about that work, because it's very refreshing. I think a lot of people will find that refreshing on this channel listening to this, but like doing the work that, like you said, that you don't want to do. Like,
Yeah.
working on, for me, like sitting down and like, okay, I'm going to work on the harmonic minor scale or the melodic minor scale. And I don't play bebop or straight ahead music. So I'm often not finding myself needing to use those scales.
Yeah.
Sticking with my modes and understanding that stuff. And then really thinking about diatonically what's going on with the chord as it passes,
Hmm. Yeah.
is how I think about it. But like, what kind of work do you feel like you put in that made you so, structured with wanting to get better?
Uh, well, I mean, at first, I mean, I think the biggest impetus was buying this grand piano because, you just sit here on a grand piano and you just go. It sounds so good, and you're like, oh, I can just sit here and listen to this. But if you've got a keyboard, you just don't like. There's nothing there. Like it's just like it's not a real instrument. It's like a computer. So no one would sit there with a keyboard and go, oh man, that sounds beautiful. So you're already like you're already at a disadvantage when it comes to having motivation to work on your instrument. And so for me, it was like when I got this thing, it was like, oh, now that I know how to make myself, how to feel good playing this thing. Now I want to work on getting better at getting that feeling and getting different kinds of that feeling. And, I mean, it's just like anything else. Like, it's like, I mean, playing your instrument, I don't know who said it, but I mean, it's pretty much just like masturbation. So it's just like, how am I going to get better at this? I want to feel better. So you just start working on stuff. And as far as the like nitty gritty on the stuff that no one wants to work on. I mean, it's like learning patterns, learning bebop scales, learning um, learning standards. I never internalized standards when I was learning them at school. I was just reading them off charts. So like my practice routine now, as opposed to when it was back when I was learning jazz as a teenager, is completely different. Like I don't when I learn a jazz standard, I'll find a version that I like to sing, and then I'll listen to it and I'll sing along with it. And I'll learn it like it's a regular song, and I'll sit down and I'll learn the chord changes from that, and then and I might use the real book if there's a real book version of it, and go back and forth and see, what people are collectively calling the chord changes and what I'm hearing on the record or whatever. And then after that, then I'll learn how to sing it. And then after that, I'll learn an instrumental version of it that's based on the way I sing it. So I'm not adding in extra syllables and stuff, because that's kind of like one of my pet peeves. And then after I do that, a lot of times I'll learn a stride version of it, just because there's no better way to internalize the relationship between the melody and the harmony and everything else, than stride piano. So I'll do that. And it's a grueling process. But once I get done doing all of that, I know the song. I know it inside and out, and that was my problem when I was at college was, and I think it's a lot of people's problem, especially when they learn really hard songs. Donna Lee is one of those ones. Like I've learned it 3 or 4 times. I know that thing now. But it was,
Nice.
but it was only because I went and you know what I mean? I sat there and learned the stride version of it, and I mean, who wants to learn a stride version of Donna Lee? Nobody. Where can I use the stride version of Donna Lee? Nowhere. No, so, but it literally is just a learning tool. But you gotta, I don't know. I think in the world of jazz, I think there's this, there's this like mystery and like everybody, like, oh, they can play any song in any key and play at any speed and all this kind of stuff. And it's all bullshit, man. Like everybody's got the shit they're good at, the shit they're not good at. Some people are more naturally talented at more things than others. But at the end of the day, like at some point, whoever, whatever horn player it is that's playing Donna Lee, sat there and went, so if it takes me longer to do it than somebody else, so be it. But it's the same work everybody's doing. So I don't beat yourself up about stuff when you're like, oh, this is hard. It was hard at one point for everybody.
Oh yeah, dude.
Mhm.
It's funny. Right before you said stride, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, I love Ray Charles and I love stride piano. I wish if I could play piano as good as I can play guitar, I probably would never pick up a guitar again. That's how much I love piano.
I mean, it
Um,
is, it is the, you know,
it's
paramour
just
of the instruments.
it's just gorgeous. So, talk to me a little bit about stride because I've never had anyone on this channel talking about this stuff. But like, the idea like bass note fifths in your left hand. Like, what's the left hand doing?
No, it's generally bass note chords.
Okay.
So, you're just looking at like ain't misbehaving. So it's just, but like if you're
Okay.
doing a bridge section or something, you might what do we- it's hard to reach. You can do like tenths.
Woo. Yeah.
And so you can also like offset the time, do stuff like that too.
Yeah, man.
So, but it's generally just bass note chord. But I mean, so I mean, there are people that can go like,
Like Scott Joplin style.
what I mean, like there are people that can do it stupid fast. And someone showed me a video the other day. It says this woman playing. I'm trying to remember what her name was, but man, it was like some of the fastest stride stuff. Oscar Peterson's another one that can just like burn with the stride. I mean, I can't even move the speed that not like that. I mean, it's just I can't even physically move that fast, much less figure out what note I'm playing here, what chord I'm playing here. So it's a tough beast, man. I was watching a video of Emmett Cohen on his Instagram thing talking about stride, and it was really funny. He was like, you got to know it's so good. You can just sit here and do it the whole time. You can just talk over top of it. It shouldn't be a thing. I mean, it should be completely, thoughtless. And he just sat there and did the whole stride thing while I was doing it. I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it. You just have to. But
It's a muscle memory thing, right? Like I feel like it's your hand also has to get used to that distance too, that you're jumping.
yeah.
There's so much going on there. It's
Well, and that's the problem too, is that like not only is it tough to remember going like this, but then you have to be able to, what I mean, you have to be able to, do like you have to be able to do those different counter rhythms against each other.
yeah. But that's the
Yeah.
other thing that's so great about piano is like the percussive, like it's almost like you're a melodic drummer. in a
Well,
way.
I mean, technically, it's a percussion instrument.
Right.
I mean, uh, like I remember I used to take I took piano lessons with this guy Sonny Bravo in the Bronx. I was living in New York. Played piano for Tito Puente for a long time,
Oh wow.
and he and I remember walking in for my first lesson to a spot in the Bronx, and I had this beautiful grand piano right in his living room, and I'd been playing on a keyboard in my dorm room forever. So I was like, oh, I was like, yeah. I was like, all right, sweet. And so I sat down at the piano, and he's like, hey man, what you doing? I'm like, I'm just. Are we gonna do a lesson? He's like, nah, we ain't gonna play the piano, man. In the back. And I was like, and then I got back there, and he had a Casio set
Ah!
up set up. It wasn't even on a keyboard stand. It was on an amp, like on a cabinet for an amp, and it wasn't even like steady. And we were just and no feeling or anything, no action or anything. And I was like, "This is where we're doing the lesson." And he said, "Hey man, look, piano's a percussion instrument. It's just a drum. You can play drums on anything." And I was just like,
Okay.
"Great." That's every lesson. He had this big living room, giant grand piano, and every lesson we spent in his teeny little study with him right next to me over here, and him sitting there just doing the clave in my ear for an hour.
How long did you work with him?
For 6 months. Yeah,
Oh,
two
okay.
for one semester, I guess. Yeah. So
Oh, okay, cool.
no.
Did you get into Latin stuff at
Oh yeah,
all?
no, I love.
Oh, give me some. Woo!
Yeah, I love all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh man. You know what got me like strangely got me into that music is that movie Chef? Did you ever see that?
Uh-uh.
So
Oh yeah. With
John
Paul.
Favreau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Yeah.
so that movie kind of got me into like more of that Latin piano style stuff. And then you start to hear, all these crazy different like bands trying to bring in like modern music. Like there's that Latin version of the Coldplay song Clocks. Did you ever hear that? I
Okay.
can't remember who did that. Oh gosh, that's gonna kill me, dude. But anyway, that got me into understanding like when you take a song from a band that you respect and you put it in the style of that, it grabs your attention a little bit quicker because like, oh, what's going on there? Like I can
Hmm.
see what they're doing, you know what I mean? So like to marry those two ideas together, I love that stuff. And that's why like artists like Donny Hathaway, like the master of reharming and changing changing a cover tune into something completely different. Um
Sorry, you want some pizza? You want to take that with you? Okay, go ahead, Pumpkin. My 2-year-old daughter.
oh,
She's
that's awesome.
hilarious. All right, continue. Sorry.
That's a good
She
man.
just came in, took my pizza, and ran.
That's what they do, man.
Mhm.
So anyway, that all is to say that there's so many great. I mean, I could listen to like gospel B3 and gospel piano stuff all day, just
Mhm.
because there's so much of a rich history to that music and the connection to the community of people who created that music, and the legacy of that. And not only to mention like how beautifully harmonically voice leading, all the stuff that's part of gospel music
Yeah.
that informs a lot of what I do on the guitar. But like, talk to me about your connection with that because I know like you had a big New Orleans connection too, with like what you guys were doing as well.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's really just like you're saying, music that has roots, music that has come up. I mean, like, all right, so we were talking about Latin music. I mean, the Cuban music, and then I mean, ultimately, it was all African rhythms and stuff that came from over there. I mean, talk about a music that's just evolved over years and years and years, and it's just when you hear it played, like you can hear the history behind it. You know what I mean? And that's same thing with R&B and gospel and all that stuff. It's a similar thing. Same thing with like bluegrass music for white people. You listen to that and you can hear it go all the way from all the way from here to Ireland and to all the old, like, folk song and the jigs and the reels and stuff that made their way over here. So I mean, for me, it's just those types of music. So there's a lot of like newer styles of music that I'm not like pop music and stuff, electronic music, like all that kind of stuff. Like if you make music on computers, it's like how far does that go back? Like 1980s, 92. You know what I mean? Like what?
Right.
It doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't resonate with me. So for me, it was always just learn, whatever. I mean, gospel music's a great example. I mean, I got really into it just because, just those harmonic, you know, like all that, movement with the different chord tones and the bass and stuff. I mean, I remember first time I heard it was that Keith Jarrett tune, "Memories of Tomorrow," and I was like, I did one of these like numbers, and I was like, hey, whoa, what is that? And I was like, that sounds like some other kind of music that I don't know about, and so, that's you started down that path. But I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, anything that's got a long history,
Yeah.
it's worth it. It's just, I think, right. I think for me, any of that stuff is cool. And I like, it's just like if it's been, I feel like there's a lot of music out there that has compromised some of that stuff. And to go forward, sometimes you got to leave some stuff behind. But, I think there's a lot of stuff that's, like mainstream country music is a great example of like, I think you guys might have left a little too much stuff back there. You might want
Yeah.
to, might want to grab some of it, pull it back up, maybe ditch the like looped drum samples and shit. You know what I mean? Like there's, and that's the thing. It's kind of like, it's like what's the reward of losing this? You know what I mean? And sometimes it's
Yeah.
worth it. Sometimes it's not. I mean, Latin music is a great example of that. Whereas like, by the time, like Latin jazz and like the New York and Miami styles of like cha 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 and all that stuff came out. I mean, they were so different from the African versions of them, which were generally in 6/8, that they're so different, but they didn't leave behind important stuff. They just got different stuff and created something new with it. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because when I listen to a song like "Drown in My Own Tears," and you think, are you hip to the Teskey Brothers, that Australian
Yeah,
band?
yeah, I listen to some of
Okay.
their stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So they covered that, and I was like, oh god, so like this better be good. Please don't be bad. And it was amazing. I mean, they did an amazing job with it. But the thing that I love about it, and when you think about musicianship, and you're on this tip too, like I know you'll identify with this, but the patience involved in playing a song like that. Like if you go listen to their a live version, there's like a YouTube version from some club in Australia where
Mhm.
they're playing it, and the drummer is just playing kick and snare.
Mhm.
But to have that like patience and reserve to serve the song, that is a whole nother level of musicianship that a lot of younger players don't get to until they like get older, mature into their instrument and all that stuff. And you hear some cats these days who are like 20 and doing it. You're like, what? That person's an old soul. How did they get
Yeah. Yeah.
that old that quick? But like, do you feel, because I know that when I've seen you talk about stuff and you've posted clips of playing on gigs and stuff, just like that level of patience and level of listening, like how has that changed for and evolved for you over the years?
Well, I mean, I think, again, keyboard players, kind of have it pretty crappy because, um, we're almost never playing our instrument on a gig. We're playing a computer version of our instrument. So, and for me, my biggest thing, like for keyboard players, like especially, oh, what you got there, Pumpkin? This is Fern. She's gonna say hi.
Hi.
Can you play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? No. Okay.
No
I'm
dice.
working on it though. You go see Mama. Um. uh, I think, your playing styles. I think the biggest thing is, um, getting getting fulfillment out of your instrument, and I think because keyboard players are stuck playing these computers, they don't, like I was saying before. Um, like say you're playing a honky tonk song downtown on Broadway, you know, and like, okay, it's time for the keyboard solo, and you got 8 measures to solo. It's and it's the verse again. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And so it's and where and especially in this town, like everybody's stuck in this in these ruts. So it's not only are you playing, you know, playing a computer that doesn't sound like your instrument, but you've got 8 measures to work with or whatever. It's just this mentality of like, you know, it's like it's like you gotta let the instrument like play you. Don't, you know, like you can't uh like if I start a solo on a song, even if it's a honky tonk song, I want to go. You know what I mean? Like
Heck yeah, dude.
you gotta dip your toes in the water and then see how it feels. Take them back out. You know what I mean? Like I was saying before, it's like masturbation. You know, like you're not just gonna go and it's over. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, maybe
right.
when you were 17, that's how you did it. You know, but like,
Mhm.
you know, once you get some maturity, it's like, all right, man, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You know.
Right, man. Yeah, it's I love talking about this kind of stuff because there's a lot of, a lot of cats who maybe, the whole thing of like, if you get a good teacher, they're going to tell you straight.
Yeah.
They're going to care about you and they're going to tell you what you need to work on. And sometimes people are too afraid to tell you when you're not doing it right or you're not doing it well enough or you're doing
Yeah.
things that are not musically appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
The dudes that are just getting a paycheck every week from the kids' parents or whatever, like,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, give it to them straight kind of thing. And I think that's something I like talking about this stuff because it's important when you get on the bandstand. And by the way, I will say the computer that you have, that Nord Grand, it sounds pretty amazing. Like those
Well,
piano patches are dope that you got.
that's the thing is that you know, you gotta, when I'm playing my Nora Grand out, and I play it out a lot, and the majority of the time, if I'm playing, you know, playing music out, it's on that Nora Grand, and so you know, I just try and play it like it's a piano. You know, and I just think about it. Okay, if I was playing my grand piano at home, what would I be playing? What would I be listening to my piano play for me? You know, like that's like the mentality. But man, it's hard. It's hard to have that mentality when you're stuck on that thing.
How does that thing feel? Like in terms of like, how does it compare to the bounce of your Grand?
It's good. I mean, it's not. It's there isn't as much resistance. The action's definitely lighter, but I think it's a good representation of like one of these if the hammers were just lighter. So it's still the same action, and it's got, you know, different samples for different velocities. So it's, I mean, it's as close as you can get. I mean, I even, you know, it's pretty. If I get that thing cranked in the monitor and it's, you know, nice and crispy clean, you know, I'll sit there and, it'll just be, it'll have that same, like that's the other thing too, man. Like nobody play, like, you know, like Ahmad Jamal fixed me after I listened to him because he's one of, you know. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
he's playing way up here. But you don't do that on a keyboard, one, because a lot of them are only like 73 key. Nobody buys the 88 key because it's more expensive, it's heavier, it's bigger, yes, you know. But it's like, man,
I love that feathery
you
stuff
miss
up in the
those up
upper
there, you
register.
know.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Man, well, so I got luckily at one point, so I did a rig rundown. Mine's called Gear Gab, but I did it with Gabe Dixon from the Tedeschi Trucks Band, and that's what he's playing. He's playing the
Okay.
Nord Grand for all his piano sounds,
Yep.
and I think all his Rhodes and Whirly stuff is all on that too. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
all that stuff, the samples have gotten big enough to the point to where they're pretty much the same stuff you'd be hearing off of a computer. So
yeah.
all the and it, you know, it's all depends on what samples well. So the Rhodes samples great. We're
Oh no, I lost you, Adam. Oh no, where are you? Wonder if you had a camera that Went out. We'll see if he comes back in. But his camera went out on the laptop, or if he has an SLS or something, or what's it? Oh, BV, you are right. Rhythms del Mundo. Yup, that is the one I was thinking of. So if you guys haven't heard the oh, there you are,
I'm
Adam.
back.
Gotcha. This is the band.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. You got me?
Now I just need to get the sound.
We can hear you, luckily. So let me.
No, the mic's on.
I can hear
can't
you.
hear you now.
Oh no. How about go out, come back in. All right, there. Your camera went out. So go out and come back in, Adam, if you can hear me.
Yeah, he's back.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So my moderator BV just said it's Rhythms del Mundo that did Clocks. You should check that out, dude. It's dope.
Okay. All right.
It's a really cool version of that song. So I can't even remember what was I just saying? What were we just talking about?
No, we were just talking about the samples on the Nords of the.
Oh yeah, right.
Stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, regardless, I was gonna ask you, what is that, a Steinway or is that a Yamaha? What is that piano?
It's a Yamaha. It's a Yamaha G2. So kind of one of the. It's the bigger. I think it's the biggest baby grand that they make.
It sounds amazing, dude. It sounds awesome.
It's great, man. It's awesome. It's changed my life.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you real quick. I would be remiss if I didn't. So when you were talking earlier about how you're like, God, I was a trash singer and I had to really work on stuff. And so what led you to want to try out for The Voice then? Were you just like, I'm just going to get better. I'm going to try to do this.
Well, I mean, by the time I tried out for The Voice and I was good enough to do it, I think I was probably here at that point. So, I mean, I got better.
You sound great.
It's like the scene from Monty Python. She turned me into a newt.
Oh yeah,
I got better.
Yes, you
so
did.
yeah. I mean, I mean, that was just I mean, I just spent hours and 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 hours on it, just getting better because I had, I had zero natural talent at singing in the beginning. It was so bad, and so I just, just kept working on it, kept recording myself and listening back, hating myself, self-loathing. That really helps in the singing department if you're trying to, trying to like, sing with a feeling. Yeah, just hate yourself for 10 years. That'll do it.
Did you study with anybody or work on stuff?
No, I didn't study with anybody for singing. I just sang and sang and sang and sang. And I mean, if you've recorded yourself, you're your own worst critic for sure. So I would just go, it was kind of like I was saying when I was in Baltimore. We had our thing on the fridge, so I would come home and we all pretty much had day jobs. So I would work from like shoot probably 7 or 8 in the morning to 2 or 3, and then I'd get home and I'd go downstairs and sing for probably 2 hours. And that was like Monday through Friday for years and years and years, So and I go down there and I pick my favorite songs. I'd be like, all right, "A Fool for You" by Ray Charles. All right, here we go. Let's learn it. I'd sit there and I'd learn it and I'd sing it. I'd be like, trash. Next day, a little better. Next day, a little better. Next day, a little better. And that's how I'm sure that's not the journey for everybody, but it's a good testament. Like, if you really want to do something, you just gotta put the 10,000 hours in, or whatever they say.
Yeah. Well, you ended up doing pretty damn well on that TV show, so I mean, it must have worked out.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I got there. I mean, I think don't don't underestimate everyone else's laziness either. I mean, like there's few people in the world that are willing to put the time in to get really great at something. I mean, because it's I mean, to get really great at almost anything, it has to be like a borderline obsession.
Yeah.
or either that or you have to have a routine, one of the two, or really both. I mean,
For
for
real.
me, like with practicing my piano right now, I mean, I have my routine every morning. I get up and I practice, but then I try and always try find another time during the day to come back to my instrument and work on whatever I've been working on that morning. So,
Yeah.
it's and supposed to like work and do family stuff and all that other stuff in there in between too. So,
Yeah, man. Are you writing a lot right now? Are you like writing a
yeah,
lot of music?
I'm writing. Oh shoot, hold on, let me plug this in. I'm always writing stuff. I mean, right now I'm kind of just writing. Um, I don't know, kind of like fun, like jazz or R&B or blues stuff right now. Everything, everything's kind of coming off of this. I used to do more like co-writes and you know, go into town in some room in some publishing place and sit down with a stranger and write for 2.5 hours. I've done plenty of that. I'm not
Yeah, I
really doing
bet.
much of it anymore though. I don't know. I'm kind of over it. So, um, yeah.
Well, when I saw you were playing with Jack, because I had Jack on this show
Oh, nice. Okay.
a while back, and when I saw you guys were playing together, I was like, that is like a marriage made in heaven between the two of you.
We've been playing together a long time, man. Long, long fucking time. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's probably been like 8 years or something like that. We've been playing together. I mean, me and Jack, like, I think the first night I met Jack, I was playing a gig on Broadway, and he just kind of came in, and he was like the guitar player in town that was like really good and like really good at blues and all the other stuff. But he just didn't really want to learn all the Broadway songs because he had more integrity than the rest of us. So, so he would just come down and hang out, sit in for a couple of good songs, and then be like, "All right, I'm good," So, but I remember hearing him one day, and I was just like, "Damn, why isn't that guy on the gig or whatever?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't really want to learn that shit." So I was like, "Well, we should play some good music." So from that, we were. I don't know. I feel like with musicians, you just find excuses to play together. So.
Yeah, dude.
Whether I have a record deal at the time or whether he's got a residency at a venue or whatever, doing a video for this thing or whatever it is, you just try and find excuses to play together. And I think it's that's how it is kind of in the musician community. It's not like, all right, well, here's my music and here's my agent and this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to hire these people. It's just more like, hey, I talked to this rich guy in Tampa. He's throwing a party. He needs a band. He's got $5,000. Let's go down and play. I mean, like those are the gigs we're looking for. It was funny. I was talking with some folks the other day. I won't mention names, but we were all talking about how it's like artists. I mean, especially in this town, like, artists are always trying to hobnob with like people like record execs or, management people or booking agents or whatever. Musicians, we're just whores. We go straight to the source. We just look for rich people to hang out with. We're like, why do we have to, what's up with this intermediary person that we have to use and then have them, and then they get 10% of the money that they get from the rich. It's like, we just go try and find rich people. Like,
Someone call that business savvy. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things too. It's like there's cool people in every socioeconomic class, So it's like I would much rather meet some cool dude who really loves blues or or jazz or whatever, who's like, yeah, man, I'm having a birthday party or Christmas party or whatever, and I hire you guys to come play and like I mean, I'd much rather do that than sit there and like talk to an agent and have them try and sell whatever it is that I have to somebody else's festival or
Right.
venue or opening slot doesn't really fit, all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's a bummer. Last time you guys were in DC, I had something going on, but I was like, oh God, I'm gonna go. And
Yeah.
then like some family thing was happening, and my wife was like, no, you ain't. So I was like, all right, but like let me know if you guys are coming back up at some point to like Mid Atlantic. I would love to see you two play together in particular. I'm
sure it'll happen here soon at some point. Yeah.
Are you doing all left-hand bass stuff? It's just a trio, right?
Yeah. Well, so mainly we've been doing the organ trio. We've been doing some stuff with like some upright too as well lately, but mainly it's just the organ trio stuff. So it's me on my like Hammond organ and Leslie, and I'm doing the left hand bass and the bottom manual, and and then Wes Little's been playing drums with us for the most part. So yeah,
cool, nice, dude.
Cool. Yeah,
that's killer. Well, let me know. I cannot wait to see that band. That'd be super fun.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, let's you know what, let me do this real quick because BV was so kind to put up all of your socials and links and stuff. So for anybody that's listening on Spotify, Apple Music, is you still using AdamWakefieldMusic.com?
Sure. I think so. Yeah, I always update my tour calendar. So like, if I'm playing in town a lot. But
okay.
So
and by in town, we're talking Nashville. Yeah. And like I've been hearing a lot about the Underdog. Great shows at the Underdog. So I know you guys are there a decent amount.
Yeah, I'm there all the time. I'm like a cockroach down there. So
so everybody should go check that out. And then Instagram, it's just at Adam Wakefield. So that's easy. YouTube is just search Adam Wakefield Music. You'll find things.
Yeah, you'll find stuff from back when I was in Baltimore.
There you go. All right, so I'm going to change this up. So people that have seen, I've done over 200 episodes of this show, Adam, and I've done this on every episode where I've done this thing called the lightning round get down, where I ask 10 rapid fire questions. And I feel like it's getting passe. I feel like there's too many people that do that now, and I don't want to do it anymore. Okay. Or maybe I want to take a break from it, but I thought we could try something fun. I'm going to put a little metronome on for some suspense here.
Okay.
And I'm going to do, this still could be called the lightning round get down, but I'm going to do like a finish the lyric. So I'm going to read you the first part of the lyric, and then I'm going to leave out the last part, and I want you to see if you can fill it in.
Okay.
So I told you, since this is the first time, I'm going to give you a big old softball. Big, gigantic blue ball softball.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right. Don't fly, Mr. Bluebird. I'm just walking down the road. Early morning sunshine.
Tells me all I need to know.
Correct. Band?
It's Blue Sky. It's like my favorite song of all time.
The Allman Brothers. All right, here's one. So let me see. Okay, so here's a good one too. Oh, she may be weary. Women do get wearied.
Oh, she may be weary. Wearing that same old satin dress.
Close. Think of who's Scooby's buddy?
Shaggy dress.
Artist. Who's the artist for that? Well, been many people.
It's Otis Redding. Otis Redding.
We know it mostly by Otis Redding, right? Yeah. All right. Here's a good one. The phone rings in the middle of the night. My father yells. Phone rings in the middle of the
night. Is that Papa Was a Rolling Stone?
No.
I don't know what it is.
This is 80s style. Picture big colorful hair in the video. What's his face? Lou. Oh, what was that wrestler? He had like rubber bands in his goatee.
I don't think I know the song.
Cyndi Lauper.
No. Yeah, that's weird.
That's what you gonna do with your life.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's a.
Girls just want to have fun.
I would know that song. Oh, girls just want to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know the chorus, like everyone.
Yeah. All right. Here's the last one. All right. Now I don't claim to be an A student, but
I don't claim to be an A student. Oh, something about history. Can't remember. But I know it's something.
Be an A student, but I
can't remember.
Try to be, but I try to be. Sam Cooke.
I try to be. Sam Cooke. Yeah, there it is.
There we go. So I'll have to fine tune this a little bit more, Adam. But I'm thinking this is going to be that's a fun little treat at the end of the show. Figure out.
No, hey man, that's fun. Always a good time.
So anything to talk about, promote for what you got going on right now that people can check you out?
No.
Nothing right now.
I mean, if you're in Nashville and you want to see me, or I mean, I travel sometimes. Just went to Chicago and went to DC. So I mean, yeah, I mean, go check the tour schedule. If you're really, really, really lucky, I might be in your area, but generally, you're just gonna have to come see me when you're in Nashville. But yeah, Adam Wakefield. What was it? Music?
Yep, AdamWakefieldMusic.com.
AdamWakefieldMusic.com. Yeah, I do.
Very
I do
simple.
update the tour schedule often, just so I can't be a complete slacker. So there is that.
Okay. Well, dude, Adam, man, it's a pleasure to catch up with you, dude. It's so nice to hear things are, going well, and it's really
Yeah,
fun to hear you play in general. So thank you for doing that too.
yeah, dude.
Everybody else, thanks for hanging out. BV, thank you again for moderating the chat.
Yeah,
Everybody, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.
awesome. Thanks, dude.